Good afternoon. My name is Henry Kirkup. I'm a partner in the Casualty team at BLM, where we specialise in defending personal injury claims for our clients. I'm here today to talk about some of the issues arising from a potential increase in personal injury claims that might have been caused by the COVID pandemic. Today, I'm particularly focusing on employees in more general occupations, such as security guards, sales assistants, and cleaners, and the way in which the issues surrounding the pandemic may have affected them. This vlog will discuss the legal basis of the various risks attached to these occupations, particularly so far as their employers and insurers are concerned. My colleague in the Casualty team, Luisa, will then be discussing the practical impact of these legalities and particularly be focusing on the leisure and retail sectors and on the guidance which has been published by the government in the last few days. Firstly, anyone who makes a personal injury claim will need to establish a breach of duty. The best place to start to find out what this might look like is the common law duty of care, which is owed by employers to their employees. A clear definition of this duty can be found in the case of Stokes versus Guest, Keane and Nettlefold, a case from 1968, which says that the overall test is the conduct of the reasonable and prudent employer, taking positive thought for the safety of his workers in the light of what he knows and what he ought to know. It says that the employer must weigh up the risks in terms of the likelihood of an injury occurring and the potential consequences if it does so. This weighing up exercise might be described as a risk assessment. Any such risk assessment within the law must be suitable and sufficient. It was described in this way in the 2008 case of Allison versus the London Underground. It is also described like this in the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999, which require employers to perform suitable and sufficient risk assessments. The pandemic will obviously have created a large number of new risks for employees which need assessing. And it's not just risks to employees either. The regulations make it clear that risk assessments must consider other individuals who might be affected by the employer's work, the employer's undertaking. These are people such as visitors, customers, contractors, and consultants. HSE guidance gives 5 steps for managing these risks. 1. Identify hazards. 2. Assess the risks. 3. Control the risks. 4. Record your findings. And 5. Review the controls. In addition, the government has continued to regularly publish guidance on how to approach these risks, and this is likely to play a significant role in deciding whether an employer's risk assessment can be said to be suitable or not. All of this is very easy to say, applying it less so. This is especially tough for employers given the relatively short notice that they've had to read and understand any guidance, and because much of it can be said to be difficult to understand and to digest, especially in the difficult circumstances that we've all been facing in recent weeks. Luisa is going to pick up from here and look at some practical steps, therefore, on how it might be possible to manage some of these risks with a special focus on, like I say, leisure and retail. But none of us at BLM see this as a one-stop shop, and we don't see the risks arising from COVID that can be dealt with in one webinar or one document. For this reason, please do look out for further vlogs, and also all of us are available to speak to you at any time in respect of any of the issues that arise from these vlogs as matters progress and as the return to work unfolds. Over to you, Luisa.
Hi, I'm Luisa. I'm a partner in BLM. Thanks to Henry in setting out the general rules in relation to assessing risk, which are now more relevant than ever in the COVID world. We're now at a point where we've got retail back in business, and leisure in the form of bars and restaurants about to return to some form of normality on the 4th of July. Guidance has been given by the government, of which people are well aware, in terms of the theoretical stance to be taken to allowing customers and clients to enter. But the issues I want to look at is what should be done and what happens if there is such non-compliance in the future. So the lifting of lockdown guidance is just that, it's a guide, and it will be slightly different for every particular venue. A small pub, for example, will be different to a chain, who will have much more by way of resource to assist in establishing operations. The issue that we really need to focus on is that what happens initially in setting out all these fantastic measures to ensure distancing, and the reality of matters potentially getting out of hand or standards slipping after a few weeks. There has to be a need to assess the risk continually, see what's working, what isn't working, and to look at the needs of both customers and employees, because there's an employer and public liability risk here, as of course with retail. So it's very important that everything is looked at to limit the risk now, to avoid COVID claims, people stating that they have developed the illness due to being in your premises, and other claims as well. We could attempt to see this as a positive in that putting in these extra health and safety measures reduces claims across the board. So in terms of retail, very generally, in the ever-changing world, they're now probably old hands at this and ensuring distancing, one-way systems, a foot plate to ensure that you're never too near to another individual, either in a queue or with the individual where you're setting out the transactions, the buying of the actual goods. You're seeing that most changing rooms are closed, and if they're not, there has to be a system there for putting those clothes away for a couple of days till they're back on sale. So looking at bars and restaurants, the issue, as I see it, is one for the bars rather than restaurants. I think restaurants should be fairly good at ensuring spacing, at controlling timings, and there's more likely to be the issue of excess alcohol consumed in bars, which can lead to some individuals potentially ignoring the guidelines, and how that is dealt with is key. So firstly, let's look at bars, restaurants, retail as well in this regard in entering the premises. It's really important that there is an adequate queuing system outside those premises, so there isn't a group out there who are not distancing. So how that can be done is with foot plates outside, using street furniture as natural barriers, installing barriers, and if you are using a car park section, make sure that pedestrians and traffic are separated sufficiently to avoid potential claims there as well. These are the offshoots of these steps that are now being taken. Some businesses on entry to premises will be introducing and have introduced temperature checks. That will be particularly the case in gyms when they are allowed to open. And people will have to register to enter premises with data kept for 4 weeks in case there is any outbreak. And there needs to be a tracing of individuals in a premises. Once in, or maybe beforehand, they'll be ordering on an app and table service only. Those tables will be 2 meters apart, as there needs to be adequate space in terms of the 1 meter rule now that you can distance from another group, but also to allow the staff and other customers to move around. So there will need to be extra tables put away, and obviously the use of liberal amounts of tape on the floor and in areas to show exactly where people should be. Staff in this environment should be wearing masks and gloves. Whilst bars won't be the point where you order your drinks, that area will have the screens put up so there isn't an actual close relationship between both customer and employee. Cleaning is going to have to be increased. That's both around the premises, in between the use of tables. So every time a table is vacated, there'll have to be a thorough clean before the next customers attend. So that will have to be allocated into any booking system, which in restaurants is and has been established for many years, but also now will become more commonplace in bar areas too. The issue with bars, as I've alluded to, is one of alcohol consumption, and there will be inevitable events where there could be a need to check somebody's ID. If they're wearing a mask, they'll have to remove it, and guidance on how that is done to protect them and obviously staff, particularly door staff in this scenario, will need to be implemented. There'll also have to be a system for ejecting individuals who are not following the rules. So with those contracted door companies, ensure that there's some contractual provision that applies to this, as they're the sort of claims where it can get very complicated as to responsibility, as to who was doing what and who was under the control of someone else at that point. I'd also suggest, and what we are seeing, that clear rules and tannoy announcements are in place as a constant and gentle, friendly reminder of the rules. It's also helpful to have daily staff briefings in any retail or leisure outlet to address their concerns, look how matters are progressing in relation to risk, and to move matters forward in this ever-changing world. For example, in shops, there is the thought that some staff don't like to wear the masks. They find them very oppressive. That may be possible in large retail stores where there's inevitable distancing due to the nature of the venue, but in others, masks will have to be worn, particularly, as I've said before, in the leisure outlet. Steps can't be exhaustive. They will be ever changing, and most businesses are obviously looking at this in relation to their specific layout, how large it is, whether it's a chain or an individual concern. But if we try and look at it as a positive, if there is constant cleaning and all of this guidance is being followed, we may actually see a reduction in other claims such as trips and slips. There's that need to obviously ensure businesses continue to function effectively by allowing footfall in, but we may see that there's less of those claims because there won't be that huge bustling venue with people falling over and having other sorts of accidents too. Following this guidance and then addressing it continually, not just playing lip service to it, and not having sort of a great system on entry and then a free-for-all inside, will ensure that the guidelines are met and we can potentially ward off any claims. If you need any further assistance at all, and it'll probably be very different guidance in only a week or so, then please do not hesitate to contact me or any of the team at